Welcome to Speak Up and Stay Alive Radio with author, speaker, and your host, Pat Rouleau.
Serving you a generous helping of everything you need to know to help you and your loved ones stay safe during any doctor or hospital visit.
The program is not intended to replace medical advice from a licensed professional, but rather to encourage you to become a well-informed participant in your health and well-being. And now, your host, Pat Rouleau.
The house adapts the energy of the people who live in the house after a while. That's what makes it interesting when you buy an old house. The older the house, the more energy is sitting in there waiting for you. And the longer it takes for the house to accept you as the new owner and, mingle your energy in. This is why we like to clear a house before somebody new moves in. That's part of the Feng Shui tradition, is clearing a house.
Hello, welcome. I'm Pat Rouleau, your hostess. Always so happy to have you here with me as we learn new ways to stay healthy, safe, and out of the healthcare system. You just heard a snippet from today's guest, Werner Brandmaier's last interview from our trilogy on geopathic stress, body dowsing, and today we are going to focus on Feng Shui, how to intuitively create our living environment, our homes, in alignment with good qi, good energy. So we have that to look forward to. And speaking of looking forward to, I should mention now, in case we run out of time, that I look forward to meeting you at my next public and free speaking event. I'll be sharing a 1-hour patient safety presentation at the Wycliffe Library on Tuesday evening, August the 11th at 7 o'clock. The address is 1713 Lincoln Road in Wycliffe, Ohio, right off of Euclid Avenue. Again, it's free, and I'd love to meet you there. Tuesday, August the 11th at 7 o'clock p.m., Wycliffe Library. I will be there, Bob will be there, and you'll also be able to purchase signed copies of my book, Speak Up and Stay Alive, The Patient Advocate Hospital Survival Guide, plus other goodies like our icebreaker cards, remote control covers, healing CDs, and more. So mark your calendars. Tuesday evening, August the 11th, 7 o'clock at the Wycliffe Library. Well, now, let's head into the meat of today's show as I share with you the healthcare hazard of the week. Extinction. Yes, I said extinction. Recently, a petition sent to me from a colleague caused me to think about some of the things we are accustomed to that actually do not do us any harm in terms of our health, and how big money is working quickly to replace them with alternatives that actually damage our health and our futures. The petition was in regard to the landline telephone, which I will discuss in a moment, but let's put our thoughts to other such items. Let's see. We've lost the safe incandescent light bulbs to the new CFLs, those curly white ones that emit electromagnetic frequencies and contain lethal amounts of mercury. Oh, heaven help you if you break one of those. Call hazmat and run. You've now contaminated your home. In fact, later in the show, I'm going to give you the proper protocol to clean up after a broken light bulb, as outlined by the EPA, believe it or not. We're also losing the honeybee population, and while that might not move you to tears, as you most likely dislike bugs as I do, honeybees are necessary to the survival of our food supply. Colony collapse disorder, or CCD, has spread throughout the United States and Europe over the past few years, wiping out 50 to 90% of the colonies of many beekeepers. And no one talks about the potential reasons, such as cell tower frequencies that disturb the bees' ability to find their way back to the hive, or maybe the nasty fallout from chemtrails. And no, they are not vapor trails from jets. They are chemicals being sprayed on you and me, birds and bees, soil and crops. Who needs bees anyway? I guess we can always crunch on some genetically modified corn nuts. Speaking of soil and crops, bye-bye to family farms. especially organic ones, as genetically modified Monsanto seeds are mandatory. News magazines and newspapers are gone. The yellow pages, I imagine the television will be replaced by wireless gizmos. Music CDs, don't need those anymore. Perhaps we can just beam our favorite songs directly into our brains for full enjoyment and the least bit of effort. And then there's business cards. No need for a card, just Google me on the wireless radiation-emitting smartphone that is no doubt jammed in your pocket, irradiating the family jewels, or perhaps stashed in your bra, happily damaging the DNA of your breast tissue. And books? Who needs to hold a book? What a waste of arm energy turning those darn pages. It's exhausting. Libraries? Gone. Post office? See you later. And what about keys? With the smart home, one touch on our wireless radiation-emitting cell phone locks and unlocks our doors with a huge burst of microwave radiation. Oh, and I'm sure there's more, but let me get back to the petition. It's called Keep Landline Telephones, targeted to none other than Tom Wheeler, chairman of the Federal Communication Commission. Now, this group is called Landline Yes, and they're asking for signatures, and here's what their letter says in part. AT&T has a policy named 2020 that states AT&T will phase out their copper network or legacy systems, commonly known as a landline telephone, in 2020. Seniors, those with electromagnetic frequency disabilities, and those customers recognizing the need for a landline telephone in an emergency power outage want the continuation of the landline network. Especially with the growing number of people who are sensitive to microwave radiation and the growing number of scientists that state that EMF poses a threat to Earth's biological genome and growing epidemic of cancer, the landline telephone must continue. The FCC's proposal to have each purchased cell phone come with an 8 to 24-hour battery so that cell phones can work during a short power outage does not address longer power outages, the safety of cell phones, nor the need for democratic choice. Well, now there's more, but I think that's enough to give you the idea. So why the push to add landlines to the extinction list? Well, AT&T and Verizon answer to Wall Street, which sees enormous profits in wireless, and converting landline customers to wireless opens up new revenue opportunities. Copper networks are falling apart in many areas, and the cost to replace them versus the potential revenue earned after those replacements is still not enough to match the profits those companies gouge from customers on the wireless side. So money simply follows money. As I pondered this, I thought not only about the clear and documented by non-telecom industry studies that show how dangerous wireless frequencies are to our health, but also to other concerns. Like, you always know where your landline is. I mean, I don't know anyone who has lost their landline phone or has had it stolen or misplaced. Shoot, I dropped my landline phone in the toilet. All right, who backed the car over my landline phone? Now imagine that a severe storm hits your town, especially if the power is off in the area. It will only be a matter of time before the cell towers lose power and exhaust their backup power sources and shut down as well. Even if the cell towers remain operational, your cell phone battery will eventually run down. And what about an emergency? What if someone breaks into your home or you have a medical emergency? Scramble around to find your cell phone in the dark. Uh-oh, it's out of battery powder. And then, short of calling Ghostbusters, who are you going to call? 911. Well, let me tell you how 911 works. With a landline phone, you can call 911 and drop the phone. You will be located. No need to press send, just dial and drop. The 911 system was designed for landline telephones, transmitting your call and your location instantly over a hardwired connection. Well, let's take a look at what really happens when you call 911 from your cell phone. Today's cell phone system does not automatically send location data when you dial 911. After the call comes in, the dispatcher's computer transmits a digital request to the cell phone network seeking the phone's location. Now, that data exchange can take seconds or even minutes, and sometimes it doesn't return a location at all. The most high-tech 911 centers automate the process, digitally requesting the location every few seconds. If the system can't locate the device, cell phone carrier system will use nearby towers to estimate. Again, these methods sometimes cannot find location information. And even when 911 does receive a location, it's sometimes wrong. Test calls by Gannett journalists working with 911 centers in Denver, Washington, Minneapolis, and Charlotte resulted in calls without location data or with coordinates that were off by hundreds of feet. How's that for healthcare safety? Well, I guess you could always purchase a monthly contract with a medical alert system that works without a home phone line. You know, help, I've fallen, but I can't get up. But that costs around $35 to $45 a month. And sadly, it too emits radiation. And what elderly and frail person needs to be bathed in any more health-damaging radiation? And it's not just me that has concerns about the ill effects associated with the extinction of the landline. Here are a few comments from the petition page. And mind you, I don't know any of these people. Comment number 146. For over 100 years, landline phones have been very reliable. Why put everyone at risk of not having access to outside help in emergencies, being radiated without permission? One size does not fit all, and putting those of us with sensitivities at risk is unacceptable. Your profits are not worth my health. Comment number 135. What is not addressed by the phone company's rationale is the possibility of anyone, young or old, who could have a crippling accident on a floor of their home where there is no cell phone to be had or the cell phone is not within reach. I certainly don't keep my cell phone strapped to me due to the radiation issues. I do, however, have a landline on each floor so that I am able to crawl to pull myself over to the landline. I can at least pull it down to me by the wire. This situation and being able to access a landline like this could make the difference between life and death in some instances. But of course, utilities aren't concerned about emergencies like this. Their only focus is the bottom line. The 2020 bill shows a decided lack of conscience or responsibility for the public welfare. Comment 134. More and more people develop headaches from cell phones, and they do increase cancer rates. We need to maintain our landlines. Comment 132. Why not get out of the business of taking options away from people? Comment 125. I need my landline. I do not own a cell phone and have opted out of smart meters. I am elderly with a very complex set of health conditions and would undoubtedly find the added stress of EMF exposure harmful. Comment 120. Everything I own is wired because I'm physically affected by the emissions of radiation and cannot have anything wireless. Actually, every living thing is affected by this radiation. They just don't know it yet. But as the wireless systems continue to increase, so will the health issues from people who finally connect the dots. Comment 101. Keep our landlines. During power outages and fires here, landlines are crucial. My cell failed in the big blackout here. Thank God I had a landline. I publish a news site with 150,000 readers. Many I've interviewed had the same problem during fires. We will publish a story on this irresponsible idea of eliminating landlines, which put lives at risk across fire-prone Southern California. Comment 79. With the proliferation of cell phones, thus the proliferation of cell towers, these emissions are not only dangerous to all living things, they are killing many different life forms. Without bees, there will be no food. Get rid of wireless ASAP. Here's an interesting point. Comment 71. Landlines need to be preserved. Wireless technology is making more and more people sick, disabled, and unable to use cell phones because their bodies can no longer tolerate the effects of radio frequencies. No one should be forced to either use a cell phone or do without telephone service. Also, if landlines are not maintained, it will cost a lot more to replace them in the future when most people will have become EMF sensitive and when the loss of phone service during disasters will have caused chaos. The world one day will see the tragic impact of wireless radiation. Comment 45. Please don't take away my freedom of choice. I am EMF sensitive and must have a landline in order to have telephone that does not sicken me. And the last, comment 35, during Superstorm Sandy, cell communications were down because the local cell tower lost functionality. Throughout the storm, the old trusty copper line wall phone continued to operate. Keeping a legacy system like this is not only going to provide people with an alternate choice for many reasons, but it will also help to make our communication systems less prone to sabotage, hacking, and other failures. weaknesses that a single wireless or IP system will. So there you have it. Some comments from around the globe that reiterate my concerns exactly. Just because something is possible doesn't mean it makes sense to implement, especially when there are so many valid reasons not to. And if health reasons don't resonate with you, how about the loss of freedom to make decisions for yourself? What is going to be in your best interest? Big money is out there pushing their own agenda. Don't want to be microwaved inside your home and therefore choose to refuse a smart meter? Too bad, no choice. Don't want to be forced to use a wireless cell phone? Too bad, no choice. You know me, I love words. Extinct, of a species, family, or other larger group having no living members. Vanished, lost, died out, no longer existing, wiped out, destroyed, gone. At this rate, it won't just be light bulbs, newspapers, honeybees, and keys. I fear for all of us, the yous and the me's. And with that, let's hear some legal news you can use. Let's spend the next 2 minutes with our friends at Schraff & King. They always have the answers. Well, David, Emily in Illyria wrote, can I still make my own healthcare decisions once I have created an advance directive?
Absolutely. When a healthcare directive is executed, while it goes into effect immediately, the individual signing that directive retains control over their own healthcare decisions. The document is intended to enable an agent to make decisions when and only when the individual signing it is not able to make those decisions for themselves.
And if our listeners have more questions, where can they find you?
We can be reached by telephone at 440-585-1600, 440-585-1600.
Great advice. Thank you for taking the time to help us today.
You're welcome, Pat.
They're conveniently located on Somme Center Road in Willoughby Hills, just south of Route 6. Or you can always visit them online at schraffking.com. Are you planning a corporate or union picnic this summer? Have a group, club, organization, or a large family? Pioneer Waterland is the perfect location, whether you're planning a picnic for 25 or 10,000. Pioneer Waterland and Dry Fun Park can offer you something for all ages. Pioneer is 2 parks in one, the Wet and Dry Fun Park plus the traditional picnic park with a reserved pavilion area and picnic grove area. From an outing you and your group will rave about, visit Pioneer Waterland and Dry Fun Park, 10661 Kyle Road in Chardon, Ohio, 440-285-0910, or visit the website pioneerwaterland.com. You're listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive, Patient Safety Radio, and I am your hostess, Pat Rulo, always bringing you a guest who has just a little something different to offer you to help keep you healthy and out of the healthcare system. And today, once again, I have Werner Brandmaier. He's back again because we just couldn't jam everything into his 2 previous interviews. Now, as you might recall, Werner is a native of Austria who has an engineering background and more than 10 years of experience in the high-tech medical field. He founded the Institute of Feng Shui and Geopathology in Portland, Maine, with the intent to raise awareness about geopathic stress in the United States. In his full-time practice, he integrates traditional schools of Feng Shui and Western forms of dowsing and geopathology. And today, we're off to talk about Feng Shui, a subject that has intrigued me for quite some time because there is a correlation of Earth-related stress and serious long-term illness. So let's get to it, and welcome back to the show, Werner.
Hi, Pat. Hi, Pat. Great to be here again.
Awesome to have you. I was looking forward to this day. Now, before we get into some specific details, I want to reassure them that Feng Shui is not about placing 9 lemons in a bowl and calling it a day. So Werner's going to give us an overview of the different aspects in Feng Shui and teach us simple ways to improve the energy in our living space. And so with that, please explain, what is Feng Shui and what relevance does it have to our health? Why should it be on a patient safety program?
Feng Shui is an old traditional Chinese art and science. Literally, Feng Shui means wind and water. And from these old traditions, there are two main schools and main streams. And one is called the form school, and one is called the compass school. The form school describes the flow of qi, the flow of life force and energy in a landscape. So Feng Shui is about the environment, the outer form of energy, where we put our home, our house in, and we nestle in the environment and hopefully prepare a high energy, good space for us to recharge us and to provide energetic support for us to stay healthy. So the form school describes the flow of qi in the forms of the landscape, and then of course you have open plains, and there are not really many forms to orient yourself on. And this is where the compass directions came in, and people figured out that the energy or the sun rising in the east feels different than when it sets in the west, and how it feels at noontime in the south. And as I said, both of those are considered the traditional old ways to describe Feng Shui. And then there are more contemporary, modern aspects of it and versions of it. And the most spread one and the most well-known one is coming from a school called Black Hat Sect Feng Shui. And so a big majority of the literature you find in a bookstore comes from this Black Hat Sect Feng Shui, which is a little different from the traditional one, is adapted to Western cities and living spaces, and has a bit less of the complicated calculations you have in the traditional way.
Wow, so it can get a bit confusing for the average person. We've got the form school, the compass school, the black hat sect, and contemporary and traditional. And maybe today, is there any simple way that we can cull this down so the person that's listening might be able to implement this in their everyday lives, or do some things to improve their home environment, maybe about clearing their house out of the bad energy? How would one go about doing that without getting involved with all of the research that might go into really studying up on all of this?
Yeah, good question. And what happens when you pick up a Feng Shui book in a store and you apply some of those recipes they have in the book, and then you get another book or a third book, and suddenly you get contradicting advice?
Yes.
And this is because, if you don't know yet where those different schools come from, it's difficult to put them in one complete picture. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to give you the big picture.
Okay.
So see the energy as a big cake, okay? The entire energy which affects your house and your environment as a big cake. And there are different segments of this cake. What we really try to gain at the end of the day, we like to feel well in our house, right? And we like to be healthy. So what affects our health most, is if we have good qi available for us, and there is no draining qi, no geopathic stress, which takes away qi from us. So I would say half of the cake has to do with the quality of the energy in our house and making sure that there is no geopathic stress, which we had talked in the last segment. Easy ways to think about that is, how do we feel at home? Do we like our home? Are we rested at night when we sleep there? Do we sleep properly? How is the health situation of everybody in the house? This is kind of the main idea. At least, I would sometimes say more than half, but at least half of the cake is just about the good quality of qi and no drains. So what compass directions to sleep in? There are these ideas that everybody should sleep with the head in one direction, which is not true if you think of it on Feng Shui terms. Everybody has from their birth date a different beneficial and less beneficial direction. And you can figure this out pretty easily, either in some, you get a book with some tables in there, or there are some systems which teach you how to calculate this in your head. You know, it's not that important in comparison. It's maybe a 5% slice of our cake. So what we try to do is we try to fix those bigger problems and then get one after the other, as many as we can put together. We never get 100%, you know, but if we get like 60, 70%, we're already in pretty good shape. You know, there are a number of basic rules in Feng Shui. So let me tell you one basic rule, which is to have good support from the back. We call it the armchair rule. Like sitting in a big chair with a high back, you know, have some half support with the arms left and right, and the open overview in front of you. In the Chinese Feng Shui system, this picture is described by 4 animals. So there's the tortoise in your back, you know, the massive big support, and there is the dragon on your left, the tiger on your right, and the phoenix, the free-flying bird in front of you. But if you just think about choosing a house on a property, you know, this is what you're looking for. You want a house where maybe the property slopes down a little bit, you know, ideally, and, you know, this is why everybody loves water properties, is when there is a pond or a water element in front of you, or a bay, you know, so because water holds the energy and focuses it in front of you. And then you want the mountain in the back of you. You don't want the mountain in front of you. So it's a nicely mountain slope, not a steep cliff. Or you can have just some trees, you know, some bushes in the back of you. And, you know, not that high trees on the side. So the tiger should never be bigger than the dragon. That's what they say. But you're good, you feel nicely nestled into and in a safe, homey situation there. You can do the same thing in a room. You know, if you, for example, just go to a restaurant, it's always easier or it feels a little bit better to sit with the back to the wall than with the back to the aisle. If you, in an office, put a desk in a room, you know, you always want to orient the desk towards the door when the door opens so you see who is coming in, and you have a wall behind you. You don't want big windows behind you. You don't want the desk looking out a window, you know, because then the door is in your back. You don't know who's coming in. Your attention is always outside, not at your work. You know, but everything is relative, and it depends a little bit. You know, if you are a writer of fantasy stories, you might, you know, have your desk out the window because it inspires you for some new stories. But if you are a manager of a department, you don't want that. You want to face the entrance. And the same rule counts for a bed. So if you sleep, you want the bed against the wall with your head, not against the window, and you want to, if possible, see the door, you know, and have the door in front of you or on the sides, but it's not, the door is not coming in from the back. And I often do this with consultations when I walk through a house, and I usually start at the bedrooms because we spend a lot of time there. And I just let people stand there in different orientations in a room. And when you stand in a bedroom and next to the door, you know, and the door comes in from the back practically, or from the sides here behind you, it doesn't feel as safe as when you are on the opposite wall and you see the door in front of you, and it just gives you a much more consolidated position in the room.
Mm-hmm. I find that very interesting that you mentioned a restaurant, because I innately do that when I walk into a restaurant, and if sometimes they try to put me in a booth, which I don't feel comfortable sitting in a long booth, or to have your, like you say, your back against the aisle. I always gravitate towards a wall, towards the back, where I can sit in the chair and look out and see what's coming at me. I always thought it was maybe my Italian background, where, you know, like the head of the mafia didn't want people behind his back. I'm like, where is this coming from? But, you know, I think it's just an innate feeling that I had, is that I feel uncomfortable with my back to the door. And so, yeah, I think that's just a common sense thing we can do even in our own office. Like you say, pick a room that you spend most of your time, your bedroom, and keep the head of the bed against the wall and so that you could see if someone's coming in the door, just so that you feel safe and secure.
It's natural, it's Feng Shui is not an idea somebody thought, they just trying to make rules of natural processes so people feel better. Why do they feel better sitting with the back to the wall? So it's explaining what Feng Shui does is practically explains through rules,
yes,
what is intuitively better for us, and because the brain always wants explanations, and so it gives us a structure to work through the energetic world. That's what it is.
That's a great way to put that. And you mentioned also house hunting, and I think we can all relate to that. When you go into someone else's home, even when you're visiting, you kind of get that immediate, whoa, I either like this, I feel comfortable, I don't feel comfortable, and yeah, I think that's basically just paying attention to what's going on inside of you. That's an interesting way that you put that we have to create this just to kind of give ourselves some rules.
Yeah.
What about people or our neighbors? So let's say that we've got a great situation in our home and we feel comfortable and everything is good there. And you've got neighbors right next door. Maybe you live in an apartment building. Is that a problem?
The house adapts the energy of the people who live in the house after a while. That's what makes it interesting when you buy an old house.
Yes.
The older the house, the more energy is sitting in there waiting for you. Mm-hmm. And the longer it takes for the house to accept you as the new owner and, mingle your energy in. This is why we like to clear a house before somebody new moves in. Mm-hmm. That's part of the Feng Shui tradition, is clearing a house. What you have in an apartment building is that you have one big building and lots of different units there, which all contribute together to the energy of the house. And then each unit has their own field of the person who lives in there. And the faster the inhabitants change there, the stranger the space feels. And the extreme to that is a hotel room, because you have constant change there of people staying there. And we had this request like a little while ago that somebody said, I can't stay in hotel rooms anymore. It just feels so overwhelming to me with all these energies. And we created a simple tool to use in a hotel room to clear the space out before you move in. But a house energy field, and I had mentioned this in the former segment, reaches out about 15 feet around the house. So it's not just the house itself, it reaches out like your aura field reaches out beyond the personal field. And so when you have units now close together, then these energy fields overlap and you feel the energy of your neighbor in your space. And in an apartment situation, you have both. On one hand, you have the whole house by itself, where everybody has contributed with a mixture of energies, and then you have the overlapping of the units themselves, which is smaller, but still, everything overlaps, and you feel the energies sometimes of a neighbor, and sometimes it's connected with physical noise and smells and other senses of your neighbor in your space. And what we found is when you're able to protect your space, then those physical sensatory influences disappear nearly. So suddenly you don't hear the noisy neighbor anymore because your energy is strengthened. And that's a really interesting observation, I think.
Wow. Give us your websites that would be appropriate for this conversation.
Yeah, I would say the best website of the different ones we offer here, but for the Feng Shui topic, is called instituteoffengshui.com. And Feng Shui spells Fenggshui. Instituteoffengshui.com. The website for the tools directly is called geopathicstresssolutions.com. 3 S's in the middle, Geopathic Stress Solutions. And you find tools to balance space, mobile versions for people to carry with them, like pendants, to create a safe field around the body, clearing tools, clearing harmonizers to clear space, but also to clear specific objects, for example, antiques. That's another thing. Everything is connected with energy. If you buy a really old table at an auction, there's a lot of energy stuck with the table. You bring this in your house, you bring in old pictures and other furniture. You create a lot of old, strange energy in your space if you don't clear this out.
I'm interested that you said antiques, because as you were speaking before about apartments, I wrote that down. I jotted that down, antiques. I gave that a lot of thought. We used to go to antique shows and stores and pick up a few pieces here and there. And as I would bring them home, I would think, wow, I wonder where these have been, who's used them, were they happy, were they angry, and now what kind of energy am I bringing into my home? So actually I've stopped doing that. It just doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah. No, but you can do it because, some workmanship of this old kind is really beautiful.
Yes.
You just need to clear the old energies off.
And you have harmonizers specifically for, and they're just a little circular pendant kind of a piece that you put on that furniture, and then those frequencies that are embedded in that harmonizer, what is it, dilute the current frequencies on that?
It is just, these are all programmed devices. Mm-hmm. Okay, we work with information, energy and information with frequencies like that. We program, usually silver and gold holds these energy programs very well. And we embed this in different types of discs or pendants or devices. It eases our life a lot because if you want to clear out the hotel room, the classical way, one way would be to smudge a room, right?
Right, to burn.
But you can't really smudge a hotel room because then all the fire alarms go off. And the same in an office, everybody stares at you. And so you want to use something more subtle and something maybe also faster, and it's just a modern tool, a modern version of a traditional way to do things. It doesn't mean that you can't, in your house, you absolutely can smudge and should smudge once in a while.
Right. What do you smudge with?
Sage.
Sage, okay.
Yeah, mainly, yeah. There are old ways to do this, like American Indian ways to do that.
Right.
Even the churches use sage too.
Exactly.
This was the original reason to use it because a lot of emotional hardship comes to a church. People go there and pray and ask God for help, and everybody brings their energy back, and they feel good when they go home. So where do you think all the energy goes? It just stays there, and the next people who walk in pick some of it up.
So that takes me to hospitals and nursing homes and assisted living homes. Can you imagine the conglomeration of negative energy there?
Yes.
Whoa,
yes.
Whoa. No wonder it's hard to heal in conjunction with all of the EMFs going on in that place, and the bad food and poor nutrition. And
I wanted to tell you a quick story, if I just can.
Please.
An actualization of something we mentioned last time in the segment about EMFs. Mm-hmm. And I had mentioned that we have a high school here in Portland which had a cell phone tower on it for the last, 10 years or something. And I just saw, like a few days ago, I saw an article in the local paper that there is an investigation going on now because obviously not a really healthy place to put a cell phone tower on top of a school. People noticed that seriously there are goldfish in the bio laboratory or whatever they have there are kind of dying all the time under and below the antenna. And now they brought in some scientific people to measure the strength of the signals and if they could find out if there is any correlation between the death of their goldfish and the cell phone tower itself. But it's official now, so there were enough parents now who stood up and requested answers on that this is in the process of. We'll see. I'll keep you posted what the outcome will be.
You know what, when I read that article, I think we posted it on one of our show pages, Boil the Frog Slowly, at the boilthefrogradio.com. I was excited to see that because the science teacher actually did some experiments with it where they went away over the weekend, Memorial Weekend, and they covered one of the tanks with foil to protect the fish, and the one they left open, and the one that didn't have the foil protection, they died. So I'm thrilled because maybe this will bring some awareness to what we are doing to our children in their schools in the name of education. Well, and I know we've wandered around all over the place today and tried to touch as much as we can. I think the bottom line, though, is folks are interested in Feng Shui. It's not an easy fix. You can't just read a quick book and get the answer to that. So you do consultations yourself. I want to be sure to send folks to your website. Any final words of advice you want to share before we end our conversation on Feng Shui?
2 things to remember. Number 1, make sure that your bed space is really well situated, that you sleep well, you feel rested in the morning. So what we said, half the cake is to make sure that the energy is not drained and is a good one. Okay? And the second one, just remember this other rule I told you, good support in the back. Whatever you do with furniture in your house, whenever you have a spot where you spend a lot of time and you want to read or you want to do some work, make sure there is good support in the back and you have some overview in front of you. That is a much stronger position and gives you already like the first steps into the world of Feng Shui.
Excellent, excellent. And a little tip from your website, you say Feng Shui is more than just an Asian concept about color and design. It is about the quality and the flow of energy in a house, a building, a garden, or a business. And so I really hope that our 3 conversations with you help to underscore the importance of the need to detect geopathic stress and to work on the energy of our homes as a way to improve our health and to keep us out of the hospital. And I cannot tell you how thrilled I am to have met you and to have had this golden opportunity to spend 3 interviews with you. So thank you so much. And folks need to go to the instituteoffengshui.com. Werner, thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you.
This message is for healthcare providers and hospitals. Wouldn't you love to improve your patient satisfaction survey scores? And is it always a poor experience that causes a negative survey? Or could it be patient frustration when patients or family members feel they have no easy way to voice their immediate concerns and are forced to air it after the fact on a written survey form? So why not offer a feedback system in real time that allows both you and the patient to address and resolve problems in the moment? Benchmarking Group International has the solution, the Patient Angle, a software solution that offers real-time delivery of patient feedback, and that includes compliments too. See it for yourself and request a complimentary, no-obligation 30-minute demonstration. Visit benchgroupint.com. That's benchgroupint.com or call 703-688-2860. That's 703-688-2860. Death by Lightbulb. Oh, as I mentioned during my Healthcare Hazard of the Week, I want to share with you the proper protocol for cleaning up after a broken CFL light bulb. CFL stands for compact fluorescent light bulb, the new curly Q white ones that are supposed to save energy, whatever that means. Now keep in mind, these new CFLs contain mercury, a toxic element whereby the inhalation of mercury vapor can produce harmful effects on the nervous, digestive, and immune systems, lungs, and kidneys, and may be fatal. In addition, they give off huge amounts of electromagnetic frequencies and high amounts of ultraviolet rays. Researchers have found that ultraviolet radiation seeping through CFL bulbs may damage skin cells, which indicate that exposure to CFL bulbs might be responsible for exacerbating certain skin conditions and skin cancer in humans. The issue comes from how CFLs are designed. Fluorescent lamps, large and compact, work by using electricity to excite mercury vapor inside the bulb. The excited vapor then emits invisible ultraviolet light that is absorbed by the bulb's phosphor coating. In turn, the coating re-emits the energy as visible light. Just a little science class here. But researchers found that UV light leaks more from CFLs compared to standard fluorescent tubes because the smaller diameter of the glass, coupled with its twists and turns, creates more spaces where the phosphor coating chips away therefore letting more UV light escape. So now, let me share with you the guidelines taken directly from the Environmental Protection Agency's website. Instructions that we didn't need with the old-timey, safe, incandescent light bulbs. And this is all quoted. They say, before cleanup, have people and pets leave the room. Air out the room for 5 to 10 minutes by opening a window or door to the outdoor environment. Shut off the central forced air heating air conditioning system if you have one. Collect materials needed to clean up broken bulb. Stiff paper or cardboard, sticky tape, damp paper towels or disposable wet wipes for hard surfaces, and a glass jar with a metal lid or a sealable plastic bag. During cleanup, in all capital letters, it says, do not vacuum. Vacuuming is not recommended unless broken glass remains after all other cleanup steps have been taken. Vacuuming could spread mercury-containing powder or mercury vapor. Be thorough in collecting broken glass and visible powder. Scoop up glass fragments and powder using stiff paper or cardboard. Use sticky tape, such as duct tape, to pick up any remaining small glass fragments and powder. Place the used tape in the glass jar or plastic bag. See the detailed cleanup instructions for more information and for differences in cleaning up hard surfaces versus carpeting or rugs. Place cleanup materials in a sealable container. After cleanup, promptly place all bulb debris and cleanup materials, including vacuum cleaner bags, outdoors in a trash container or protected area until materials can be disposed of. Avoid leaving any bulb fragments or cleanup material indoors. Next, check with your local government about disposable requirements in your area, because some localities require fluorescent bulbs, broken or unbroken, be taken to a local recycling center. If there is no such requirement in your area, you can dispose of the materials with your household trash. If practical, continue to air out the room where the bulb was broken and leave the heating in the air conditioning system shut off for several hours. If you are concerned about your health after cleaning up a broken CFL, consult your local poison control center. End of quotes from the EPA website. Now, who is going to do this? Or even know to do this if and when a CFL bulb breaks? Is this outlined as a warning on the package? Do we really need to get rid of a perfectly safe lighting option such as the incandescent light bulb in exchange for this bizarre health hazard? And again, in the event that someone does break a CFL bulb and doesn't understand the dangers, here is something frightening. In a study published in 2011 in the Journal of Environmental Engineering Science, Jackson State University, researchers reported that even if left unattended for 24 hours, a broken bulb will release from 0.04 to 0.7 milligrams of mercury. I don't know what that means. The researchers found that it would take weeks for the amount of mercury vapor in the room to reach levels that would be hazardous to a child, and that can be avoided by quickly following the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's simple procedure for safe cleanup. Well, now that article is meant to make you feel good, that the amount is so small that as long as you clean up according to the EPA guidelines, you're okay. But what about the vast majority who will drag out the vacuum cleaner and blast the mercury vapor throughout the air? To me, that study simply confirms the danger. Doublespeak doesn't work here, folks. Now maybe you're sitting there thinking that I'm out of my mind to be concerned enough about a light bulb to even talk about it on this program. But keep in mind, it's all these seemingly little things that sneak into our everyday lives under the guise of smart this, savings that slowly but surely undermine our health. I don't know about you, but I don't want to turn on my lights and have to be concerned about ultraviolet light burning my skin, being bathed in a sea of high levels of electromagnetic frequencies, and heaven help us if I drop one. Mercury vapor inhalation? Death by light bulb. Is there a medical code for that? You are listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive, Patient Safety Radio, and I am your hostess, Pat Rulo. And today we talked about our environment, especially our home environment, and how important it is to use our gut, our intuition, along with some study and research on Feng Shui principles to improve the energy within our homes. And to go along with that, we thought about some of the useful items we've grown up with that enhance our lives without taking anything away, such as the safe incandescent light bulbs and landlines. I'm a firm believer that our home environment especially has a lot to do with our health. Where and how we sleep is so important. Are we attempting to rest and rejuvenate in a cluttered mess, surrounded by Wi-Fi router frequencies, cell phone under the pillow, cordless phones radiating by our heads, electric alarm clocks, televisions? I hope you take a moment this week and go stand in your bedroom. Listen to your gut. Ask yourself, is my bedroom a safe haven for me? And if not, do a bit of cleanup. And if you need more thoughts on this, visit the website speakupandstayalive.com, and you can listen again to all three of our guests' conversations with me, Werner Brandmaier, about geopathic stress, body dowsing, and Feng Shui. And while you're there, pick up a copy of the book, Speak Up and Stay Alive, The Patient Advocate Hospital Survival Guide. $20 can certainly do more to save your life than spending $20 on some random foolishness. Lots of useful ideas at speakupandstayalive.com or order by phone 440-725-5462. 440-725-5462. And now, so out of time as I knew we would be today, so come back next week for more healthcare safety tips and tools. Same time, same place, but never the same information. Until next week, I hope you have a healthy and a happy week, free from mercury vapors and bad feng shui. I am Pat Rouleau, and I am your guide to safe and successful healthcare and hospital encounters.
Listen to Pat Rouleau and Speak Up and Stay Alive RadiOh. Stay safe from little-known healthcare and hospital hazards. To learn more, go to speakupandstayalive.com. That's speakupandstayalive.com.